Hey, welcome back to the channel. Got a little something for you on the bench. So we're taking a look at the OddityRC. This is the F405 mini stack. This has a 32-bit ESC in it. I'm kind of excited because I've missed out on my 32-bit ESCs on my smaller builds. This has the AM32, so we're going to be looking at the stack. This is the flight controller, the ESC, a couple parts and pieces in here as well. $35.99 on sale right now for $31.99. So it's kind of nice to see these stacks come under 40 bucks. So we're going to open this up. We're going to take a look at it. I'm going to put it under the microscope for you so you can kind of see all the little details, take some weights and measurements, that sort of thing before we put it into a build, which I may live stream. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's what this is about. So stay tuned. Alright, so over here at the bench, we'll go ahead and pop this dude open. The first two things that come out are the flight controller and ESC. And then give you a little parts bag. So we have our bus cable for the ESC and flight controller to communicate with one another. Capacitor, some gummies, looks like some M2. Like some M2 nuts and washers, and then some grommets. And looks like we have 8 grommets, so we can soft mount both components. We have an XT60, pretty lengthy wire, and then we have an XT30. So a pretty decent length of wire on it as well. So that's everything in the box, and then of course you have a QR code for manual. I'm gonna, after we get done at the microscope, I'll have a little diagram we'll go over as far as like wiring up your receiver and stuff like that. I'm gonna also show these motors. So on this build that I plan on doing, this is gonna be on a 3-inch. I'm just gonna do a 3-inch analog build. So we'll be putting all these parts and pieces on that. So let's go ahead and pop open the ESC first. So this is a 32-bit ESC. So like I said, I'm kind of excited about that because, you know, with the BioHeli 32 program getting shut down or quitting or whatever the case may be, it's nice to see a 32-bit ESC come out. So quite a, let me zoom in a little bit for you here. So there's that dude. We'll go ahead and get a couple measurements. You can see here that this is 20 by 20. I'll show you that. All right, it's a 20 by 20 mounting point, but this board is quite a bit larger than that. So we have 34. Some of your smaller 3-inch frames may not fit very well. So you want to keep in mind that that dude is 42. We'll put him under the microscope, and let's pop open the flight controller. The flight controller and ESC. So this stack here was given to me by OddityRC. They want me to give it a go, give it a test, see what I think, and then report back, you know, some things that I found with it. So hopefully everything is rock and roll. So here is the flight controller. Like I said, I'll get an up-close look at it on the microscope. We're just going to get some measurements and weights real quick. So with the USB, 31.3. Without the USB, so I'm just sliding, you know, right underneath it, it's 30. Okay. The other side, 31. And of course 20 by 20 mounting point. Let's go ahead and grab the scale and get some weights. I just penny weighted this scale, so it should be as accurate as it can get. So 6.5 grams for the flight controller, 8.6 grams for the ESC, and combined we're looking at 15.1 grams. All right, so we're going to jump over to the microscope. We'll take a detailed close-up look at that, and then we'll look at a wiring diagram, and then we'll jump on the internet and check out some of their spec and tech on there. That should do it. So let's jump over to the microscope. All right, over here on the microscope, we have our F405 here with our directional arrow. So this is the default direction of the flight controller, or it should be. Not sure which way I'm going to put it into my build, but I'll take care of that in beta flight anyway. So we have our buzzer signal and a ground pad, 5 volt. So we could put our buzzer signal ground here, and then we could power it with the 5 volt here. And then we have 2 pads and a full UART1 for GPS, 5 volt and ground. So those pads there will take care of that. Turn this dude around. We have a R5 current motor 4, 3, 2, and 1 pads. But of course, this is all going to be taken care of from here all the way down on our bus cable to our ESC. But if you wanted to, you could solder it all together. I do like that quite well because sometimes I don't use the cables. VBAT and ground, 5 volt and ground, and then a full UART. So number 3 UART is up here. We have signal for 8. So this is a motor 8 signal pad. This flight controller is capable of running 8 motors. So that's kind of nice. So if you have two ESCs connected to it, you can, all the pads are broken out. So you don't use the bus connector. Or you can use it on one and then run the other one. So ground and 5 volt, camera in. So if you want to run analog camera, let me flip it over real quick. So we have our OSD chip right here. So this is our beta flight OSD chip. So it will overlay our OSD onto our camera right there. And then we have ground and 5 volt LED pads. So our LED, now there's a pin 1 and a pin 2, 5 volt and ground. So that's kind of nice if we want to put in some extra options. I'm not going to really get into any of that on this video. Ground, we have a R6 T6, so we have a full number 6 UART here. And we have a 9 volt out, and ground. So if you have some peripherals, especially like that VTX, want to feed it 9 volts, we have those options. We also have 5 volt and ground. A full UART for our VTX if we plan on doing that, which I do. And then S-Bus if you're running S-Bus protocol. Pretty much ELRS for me, so I probably won't be using that S-Bus pad. Let's flip this dude over. Quite a bit of stuff going on. I mean, for 20 by 20 flight controller. And keep in mind, $31.99 on sale right now. So that's quite a bit of stuff you get. So here's our connector for our ESC. So this is their first iteration of this F405 mini stack flight controller. So we have our signal pads. We have 5, 6, 7, and 8. Kind of nice to have those broke out. We have a ground pad. Looks to be 2 5 volt pads and a ground pad. We have our DIN plus and negative. That's if we want to break out the USB, I assume. 5 volt and ground for that. So we have our USB breakout in case we need to bury this flight controller. Really nice when they do that. I didn't see the accessory in there for the extension, which they did supply in another flight controller package. That was the all-in-one. But it's a nice option to have. So we have our OSD chip. Looks like a nice looking, look at all this filtration for this voltage regulator. So we have our coil here and then all of our filtration. And then here's a coil. We have all of our filtration. Nice voltage regulator. I really like seeing this one. So yeah, filtration on this looks pretty good. Let me zoom in on the, going in here. Let me get my lighting right. Here's our F405 processor. One thing I wanted to look at here is the amount of solder that they have. So this connection, this weld point here is really, really good. I know that I've looked at a couple other flight controllers, and it just doesn't seem like they put a very much solder on these. But you can see all of these components are well welded, so I do like seeing that. The pads are nice sized. I mean, you can see that the pads extend the component. That's what I'm talking about, is having that extra solder on there is going to keep these dudes from vibrating loose. Our barometer's right here. Looks like it's far enough away from the standoff, so nothing should cover up our hole there. If you want, you could put a little piece of open cell foam over top of that. Some people use microphone, like the little wind guard for your microphone. Sometimes people stuff a little bit of that in there over top of it, just to keep the wind from getting in there. Turn this dude around here. Yep, everything looks pretty good. Turn this dude over. Yeah, this is quite something. They really put a lot of components together on these voltage regulators. So this is your BEC. So this is going to be your internal BECs. So your 9 volt and 5 volt. But you can see they got a pretty good amount of components working that out. So I expect to see some pretty nice voltage out of this. So let's jump back over to the bench. All right, so that's the flight controller ESC here. We're just going to jump on the microscope real quick. I'm going to show you a little close-up of this. Not a whole lot to go over with the ESC. That's kind of, you know, four redundant things happening, but let's take a look at this real quick. Jump over the microscope. All right, so we have our AM32, so 32-bit ESC. We have our microcontrollers and MOSFETs, so nice to see 32-bit ESC again, and at this price. Very, very welcomed. We have our positive and negative pad up here with some holes for the capacitor, if that's the way you like to solder your capacitor. We have our connector here going to our flight controller. We have VBAT, ground, motor 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then our current. So from our shunt resistor, we're getting our current into the flight controller for data reasons and not connected. So the last pin on this connector is not being used. Flip this dude over. Have our motor pads on the other side. Larger, very large pads on this side in case you wanted to put that XT60 on there, or you just want to mount it up, down. It's nice to have on both sides for sure, because that way you can mount it on the bottom or the top. Look at this filtration here. All of that voltage going through this to the flight controller. I would assume that this is going to be nice, clean voltage going to our flight controller. I do like seeing that. And then again, look at the size of these pads and all that solder. That's really something. Almost every single component on here has a pretty good amount of solder on it. I just seem to be plagued with components flaking off because they just don't have enough pad or enough solder, or the combination of. So yeah, it looked pretty good. I do like that they break this out in case you don't want to use that plug, which in a lot of cases I may not. Hold that still for you, you can see that. All right, so real quick look at this, and then we'll jump back over here to the bench. So we took a close look at everything here. I got weights and measurements and everything. Let me move this stuff out of the way. All right, so let's take a look at what's in the bag here for the capacitor. Now I'm going to be running, oh, you forgot to remind me. We're going to do a capacitor check on that ESC. See if you can see that. Yep. $296, so not a whole lot. So we're going to need a decent sized capacitor. On this build running 4S, I I guess it depends on how clean the voltage is. I'm assuming the voltage is going to be pretty clean. So they supply you with a 470. So 470 35 volt. I'm probably going to use this cap. 470 is probably the size I want to use for this. So good job on matching up the right capacitor. In case you're curious about capacitor, I have a video on my channel I just put out maybe 5 or 6 videos ago called capacitance. It has my race drone on there. So I will probably incorporate this. I'm actually going to incorporate it into my XT30. So just like I do with the Super Dupers, I got my Super Dupers here with the capacitor on the leg. It just keeps the build a little cleaner when it's, you know, tight and small. So I just finished this one. This is the OddityRC all-in-one. So check out on the channel here. I already have a unboxing of it. And then on the live stream, 2 live streams, just messing around, hanging out. I went ahead and built this up. Actually, let me show you something. You got to see these LEDs. It's ridiculous. Let's see, where's my battery? Look at that. You know, with all the lighting here. Let me dim it down a little bit. Look how bright that is. So I flew this last night, line of sight, and because I don't have a someday I'll find a Vista and camera to put into this, but I flew this line of sight last night, and the light intensity was so much that it kind of started to burn my eyes a little bit, trying to follow it around, you know. But yeah, those cob light, 5-volt cob lights are something else, super bright. All right, here's the motors we're going to use for this build. So this is a good match motor for this stack. And this is the 405 4800 kV motor for this 3-inch build I'm going to do. And this is OddityRC has sent these as well. They wanted me to check them out. They're super notchy. Very, very notchy motor. So I figure this will look good. I'll have a clear and a red prop to put on these dudes. So should be kind of neat looking build. I like those props quite well. I've gone through, I don't even know how many. These are the Gem Fan. What are they? 3052R, and then you can put a regular M5, or you can put a little insert, which I plan on doing. There's a little insert that goes into the center here, so you can do the T-mount, which, you know, obviously that is. So yeah, these motors in this build. So stay tuned for that build. If you have any questions about this, let me know. Piece parts wise, let's jump over to the internet real quick, and we're just going to look at the tech and spec and everything on their website. So let's jump over there and check that out. Now, I was going to do a printout and show you like the diagram and everything of the flight controller, but my printer is not working right now, so I got to buy ink for it. As soon as it gets a little low, it's like I'm not going to do anything now. So it kind of drives me nuts because that stuff is really expensive. It's gotten so much worse. I mean, don't even get me started. I won't be venting today about printer ink. But anyway, OddityRC F405 Mini AM32. This is a 40 amp stack with a pretty significant burst. I was looking at this earlier. Let me see here. So they say 50 to 60 amp. So like 3 to 5 seconds of 50 to 60 amps in this 20 by 20. That's pretty incredible. So you know, I could put a lot larger motor on it than what I plan on. Could I, you know, honestly, could you put this into a race build and put some, you know, put some 2504 or 2506 motors on it? I don't know. So 50 to 60 amp definitely can handle a little bigger motor than what I'm putting on it. All right, and then we have our our little message here that firmware is still in internal testing phase. Only offline firmware testing is available. So in our beta flight target, it's saying that currently only analog versions. So if initially getting a stack, there's going to be some settings and things you're going to have to do if you're going to do, you know, DJI, or you're going to do something else. So there are some settings you'll have to set up in that. Let me see here. So we have our barometer, 16 megs of memory built in for black box, 5 UARTs, ESC signals. So we have eight motors. We went through all that already. 2 amp. I know with the 9 volt and 5 volt rail, I like to see definitely over 1.5. So we do have 2 amps here. Some ESCs have 3. Some flight controllers have 3 amps, so that's even more better. But any more, I'd like to see more than 1.5. So that's good that we have 2. We have TBS protection, input 3 to 6S. Looks like they do have an 8S version. Beta flight or iNav, so you can drop iNav on this if you want. So if you want to run like a smaller long range 4-inch build, something like that, you want iNav, you want position hold, you want return home, you want all that stuff. I like iNav. I have not done beta flight. I know beta flight is doing some of the position hold and some of the altitude hold stuff, but I haven't messed with it personally. I'd stick with iNav for that. ESCs, we have current, so we can get a current draw for, you know, tabulating data on how much battery usage and all that. 30 to 40 amp running, 50 to 60 burst. That's kind of a lot, you know, you go from 30 to 60. So I'm not real sure about that. We'll have to test it out. All your protocols, everything. So kind of go through all this stuff here already. Let's get over here to the wiring diagram. So this is, they do give you a wire diagram. So if you want to blow this up and print it out, which I normally do, but obviously I'm out of ink, it gives you your pinout for your, and it's nice that they give you a pinout for your bus cable. So here's the breakout in case you want to solder it yourself, or here's the pinout for the plug. And then the plug on here is pretty self-explanatory. They do give you the breakout here if you want to solder the ESC side. And then here's your diagram for mounting your power. We already went all through that. Some of the other specs. Nothing really in here that's like, wow, look at this, or oh my goodness. But I just wanted to kind of go through. They don't really go through much of the pinout features on here, so I'll have to dig into that a little bit more. So pinout is for controlling different things. So if you want to turn your VTX off, or you want to, you know, turn off your LEDs, or, you know, things like that. So I'll have to look at that a little bit more. But yeah, so that's the website. Like I said earlier, I was surprised to see that this is on sale for $31.99. I know that right now they're doing like a Christmas, or Black Friday. So if you use this code, you can get a discount. Of course, I am going to put an affiliate link in my description, so it'll take you to the website, easy and convenient. It is affiliate link. The reason why I'm doing it is because they gave me a coupon code for 10% off. So if you put Propsoff in the coupon code, it'll give you 10% off, and that's why I did that. So yeah, let me go ahead and jump out of the internet here. So we went through all these pieces and parts. I hope I didn't miss anything. I was trying to be quick, but I don't want to be so quick that it's annoying you didn't get the info you needed. Let me jump over here. Yeah, pretty exciting to have these two pieces of parts. We'll get this build put together. I'm just going to put a 3-inch analog quad together. I want to beat on this thing pretty good, you know. So I'm gonna freestyle it and try not to wreck it too much. So stay tuned for that. Like I said, give me a like and a thumbs up and a subscribe. Check out my Patreon and members down below. Go subscribe to them, help them since they're helping me out. Thank you very much for your time and all that stuff. So hopefully this video helped you out, and if it did, you know, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. If you hate it, you give it a thumbs down. It all works. Enjoy the breeze.